The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Wednesday, the 20th day of October, 2021. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical Wells, One Communications, and Linda's. I'm Jamel Hartman, along with the Michaela Ian, and Leanna Lambert will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break, brought to you by Peoples. It's Hump Day, one day closer to the weekend, even though it's a short week. How are you feeling today, Michaela?
I am good. Yesterday, the weather was like really cool. And it seems to be continuing that trend this morning. It does say a high of 79. I'm hoping that's not true because yesterday was wonderful. Like, wonderful.
Can't be trusted. It's the weather. I want to believe that it's in this cool phase, but as soon as you start getting comfortable and get the sweaters and the boots out.
Yeah, that's the thing. So it's like, I mean, I know there are people who are like, they never want summer to leave. They want to keep swimming.
Why?
I just want like 75. Like yesterday was like 75 and a breeze, and it was just glorious. I want to bake. Like I want to turn my oven on, you know? I haven't turned my oven on in months because it's just too hot. So I'm crossing fingers that it's kind of here to stay.
Yeah, I tell you folks, fall temps are the best. I'm telling you, like
agree.
You can do so many things in fall. The weather is just perfect. I keep trying to find that perfect fall climate, but it's what I was told. San Francisco area, like Northern California, is perfect.
Yes, they have that. So my cousin lives up there, and they are. Yeah, she's like, it's not hot, it's not cold, it's cool.
Yeah,
and like I could dig that because then I could just throw on like a trench. You know, I could throw on some boots. If it's really sunny, I could just not wear the trench.
They don't have that's not where they have a lot of the wildfires up in Northern California.
No, I think it's Southern California.
Southern California.
I could be wrong, but that's what I think anyway.
Yeah, I believe it's Southern.
But it's crazy because fall always brings out like the big debate. So it's like apple or pumpkin.
Which side?
For pie.
Which side are you on?
For pies? Apple pie.
Okay. Well, I'm on the pumpkin side.
Yes, definitely apple. I like pumpkin cake, pumpkin bread, all that kind of stuff, but apple pie. Yeah.
I'm a pumpkin guy myself.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't mind apple though. I don't mind apple.
Pumpkin cheesecake's well though.
Yeah, I don't do the cheese anymore. But
right. No, pumpkin cheesecake is it.
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah. I noticed Cheesecake Factory had it again, and I do miss it.
Ooh.
Pumpkin flavor, folks. Pumpkin flavor.
Yes.
I'm telling you. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. Another good one today as People's Pharmacy celebrates 37 years this month. So Tamara Richardson she's stopping by to discuss their journey. The daily play is a say it, don't sing it. An easy one today. It's an easy one. I know Michaela said she gets the hooks, but these are the only lyrics in the song outside of the hook. That's the hint right there.
Okay.
So,
we'll see.
I think it'll be solved pretty fast. Not sure who's going to get it, but I think it'll be done pretty fast. But I want people to understand the importance of today's conversation with Tamara. You know, we often right now we're in the gig era, right? Craig Simmons has spoken about the gig era. It's the way out of our current crisis, right? Those who don't understand what the gig era is, the gig era is kind of what we're doing right now. Gigs is what Michaela does. teaching people how to be well on camera. It's finding those additional ways to make money, contract work, or going out on your own and doing things like that. Like that's the way of the future. And we can talk about that more on Friday when Sherry's here. But I think how a company like People's has grown to exist, and not just exist, right? Because there are companies that have existed for a while but remained where they were. They've existed, they've expanded, they've evolved. So it's an exciting conversation, and I think there are lessons in how they've progressed that I hope that the audience can learn from. I want to send a birthday shout out because we sent out tons of birthday shout outs yesterday, and I forgot one person who literally comments on the show every day, and they had a birthday yesterday. Kivani Haynes, happy belated birthday to you. Our apologies, and hopefully you had an incredible birthday and felt all the love that the Daily Hour got to share with you. All right, so big birthday shout out to you. So question of the day. So it's been an interesting couple weeks in sports. You've got the Kyrie Irving thing, you've got the John Gruden thing. It's entertainment period. Then you've got the Dave Chappelle thing. Well, in the NFL, John Gruden he was a coach up until being resigning from the Raiders last week following his release from damning messages. Now, here's the question: is basically not just about him, but the example that I'm going to use is about him. And I think we can bring it closer to home and ask the same question of Bermuda. But the NFL had uncovered emails involving John Gruden, the coach of the Raiders, from 2010 to 2018. Now we're in 2021. Apparently, he used sexist, homophobic, and transphobic language, according to the New York Times. Now, we're not going to get into what he said because it's just probably not necessary, but that's all you need to know. Now, again, these emails were sent between 2010, 2018. Actually, he was a commentator when they were sent. He wasn't even coaching when these messages were sent. But I think it's an important conversation because many years ago, did you ever have AOL AIM?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember many years ago, and that and MSN Messenger, and people used to have certain names, and I'm like, these names can come back to haunt you, right? I always had that foresight, and there were certain people in Bermuda that were very vocal and used the F word to describe, homosexuals. And we're talking like 2006, 2000 to 2010. And I'm just like,
for AIM
on MSN Messenger.
That was still a thing in 2000.
Yeah, like 2006 to 2010. I remember like people still using names, right?
Okay.
Kales, you were a bit ahead now. Come on.
No,
now.
I'm just trying to think. Like, I don't think I was using MSN Messenger after I graduated. No, I wasn't. After I graduated from uni. No.
I stopped using it in 2006 when Facebook, like I started using Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook Messenger started becoming a thing.
Yeah. And there are people that were still using certain language. And I'm like, maybe it's me, but I think, it was a thing back then where people said, you never know if you want to get into politics. You never know what you would want to do. So be careful what you say today because it's always used against you later, right? So the question of the day is, how far should we go back to condemn people for their past? Now, it depends on what they said or did. Does it depend on the length or should it not matter? There's no statute of limitations. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because, again, some people will say, well, 2010 isn't that far back. To give a person like John Gruden a pass, especially in the position he's in. Some people would justify, well, if it happened in 1990, that's different. He's learned since then. Like, people deserve an opportunity to grow and evolve. Or do they? That's the question. How far back should we go back to condemn people for their past?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. And these things always have me conflicted, right? Because especially when like there's a singer, what's her name? Billie Eilish. I don't really know how to say that. But she had some, I can't remember if it was tweets or TikToks, one of the two from like 2 or 3 years ago that were, what do you call when you're criticizing Asian people? I I can't remember I feel like there's a term for it, but she was like making fun of Asian people and stuff, and doing like the slanty eye thing and whatever.
Really?
And I think she was 15 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like when someone is doing something as a child, I feel like perhaps they might not know better. I don't know. It's tricky. It's tricky because then all that comes up and then she has to apologize and did she know better, etc. And then there was this actress, of course, now I'm forgetting her name. She comes on that show, Kimmy Schmidt. I can't remember her name right now. But photos recently surfaced of her participating in like a cotillion, but like a coming of age ball where everyone wore white. But the organization that did it was like a KKK of the North, because I think she was raised in Ohio. It was like a wealthy KKK thing. And she was 19. She was at Princeton as a student. So the whole argument of I didn't know what I was doing it wasn't valid here. So I think it's a bit tricky. I think that when we are adults, we know what we're saying. We know what we're saying. So in this situation with John Gruden, I feel as though 10 years ago is not that long ago. 2018, in fact, was just 3 years ago. So the likelihood that he doesn't think the way he thought in all these messages and emails is slim to none. He just got caught.
Well, yeah, that's that's usually the case, right?
Yeah.
I apologize. Are you sorry for what you did, or are you sorry you got caught?
Exactly.
Caller John says it depends on what they did and what they have done since then. We should also consider their age when the offense occurred.
Yes.
And I think that's what Michaela just said. But I'll use myself as an example, though, and I do agree with you. It does depend on what they did, right? Some things are worse off. We're not gonna. No offense to anyone, but we're not going to take the Christian approach that a sin's a sin. It's not.
No.
Some things are worse off than other things, right? Now that said, I'll use me in conscription. If we had to fight that all over again, I highly doubt I'd be so angry with people who oppose me. I'd probably be more understanding, because that's just my nature at this time in my life. Like my nature is I actually want to understand people. I want to understand why you think this way. And back then I used to get frustrated a lot with people because I couldn't understand what they couldn't understand. And that was what, 6 years ago, not long ago. But I take Michaela's point. Like, what would have happened in John Gruden's life at his age from 2010 to now? To really shift the thinking. Maybe the only change I can see in those kind of people, and I am saying those kind of people who feel that way, is they know how to keep it quiet more.
Exactly.
They probably won't share it in email more. They're probably a bit more wise, right? But I think I would have to agree with you and Carla in terms of considering the age of the person. Children, I mean, look, children are vulnerable beings. Like they at the end of the day, this is not making excuses for bad behavior, but at the end of the day, we don't expect them to know better.
Exactly. And like, for instance, there's a term that has been used throughout the Caribbean for a very long time to describe gay men. And I remember my son said that about a year ago. And I had to sit him down and have a conversation and explain why that is a derogatory word and why we don't use it. I don't care if your friends use it. I don't care if you heard it in a song. It is not appropriate to use that word. So we are not using that word. I hear you use it again. There's going to be some consequences, So we have to have these conversations. But I think there's a whole conversation behind it in terms of what people say, because John Gruden, for instance, referred to a football player as tire lips, a black football player.
The association president, yes.
Yes, as tire lips, but that's not a problem. But as soon as you say something about someone being gay, or you use language that is negative towards Jewish people, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
I think that was the point that Dave Chappelle was making in his comedy, actually. But yes, to Michaela's point, he had, and it's not funny, but the fact, I think his excuse to what he said, he basically he tried to defend his comments about the National NFL Players Association Executive Director DeMaurice Smith, in a 2011 email, he basically said that he was using the term rubber lips to call someone a liar. That was his defense in saying that, right? I don't believe, I'm just going to be honest, I don't believe that's what he meant.
No.
As a black person, I don't believe that's what John Gruden meant, and so the apology is pointless to me. But I think that kind of when someone doesn't accept responsibility and they start to kind of try to tell you they meant something else, it tells me that person actually really feels this way, rather than saying, you know what, I got it wrong, it was inappropriate. My apologies. I'm going to do better going forward. Again, the question of the morning, folks: how far back should we go to condemn people for their past? Call or join kills.
There are young aspiring politicians whose careers ended before they began because of old social media posts. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, at the end of the day, these are lessons that we teach young people, but adults need to be understand them as well.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's the thing. When you say things as an adult, there are consequences. Like, for instance, there's Karen Civil. She's like a digital marketing guru, if you will, for hip hop. And she was hired for Hillary Clinton's campaign as the social media manager. They dug up some tweets from, I think, 5 years prior where she was making derogatory comments about Jews. So the Clinton campaign swiftly fired her. Bernie Sanders is Jewish. Like, it would have been a whole thing. So you can say whatever you want, of course.
There's consequences.
However, there's consequences.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think, and that's it. Like, I think we have to be very, you know, I've always used my name. I'll give you an example, right? I always believe in signing my name to whatever I write. When I write it, I understand the consequences. Do I say everything that I'd like or that I think? Contrary to popular belief, I don't, because at the end of the day, I understand the consequences of saying some things that I may be thinking I may want to say or do. But that still doesn't box me in where I'm not going to express myself in a manner where people understand, the people that need to know understand how I feel. I think some people feel like being respectful is being silenced, I guess. And there's a way to express yourself. Like, Gruden could have expressed his dismay with Colin Kaepernick and the Players Association guy without bringing in racial terms. He could have expressed his anger at Roger Goodell without calling him transphobic names. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can express your disgust with someone without calling them the names that come with what eventually made him resign from his job. That said, again, I guess the answer to the question from you, Michaela, is he shouldn't get a pass, but a Billie Eilish should.
So I believe Billie Eilish should get a pass because she was a child. I mean, I probably said some things when I was a child as well that were not, you know, politically correct or offense free, you know. In a situation like this, when you take out the time to criticize someone, and you must include race, or you must include their sexual orientation as part of the criticism, you're telling on yourself.
Yeah.
You're telling on yourself. If you don't like Colin Kaepernick and you don't agree with what he stands for, that's fine. You can say that without bringing race into it.
Yeah. I agree. And I want to ask anyone, has anyone ever in the audience, has anyone ever been in a position where a social media post has caught up with you? Have you been in a situation where you've written something on social media and it's come back to haunt you in some way? Anything from you, Kales?
Nothing that I can remember off the top of my head, to be honest. I try to be careful on social. I do. Yeah.
No, I think I mean, outside of calling a politician a name one time, I mean, I've done it more than once, but when you get into politics, it's fair game, right? You watch late night television. I mean, you're the butt of the jokes, whether it was President Obama, Donald Trump, George Bush, like they were the butt of the jokes, late night television. But the truth is, and I want to highlight what Michaela said earlier, folks, is we are free to say what we want, but we're not free to say what we want without consequences. And I think that's the key right there. Hedley and Stevenson Swan says, thankfully not. She has not said anything that has impacted her future on social media. But I mean, again, don't feel silenced. Don't feel like you can't share what you want to share. I think it goes back to what Michaela said in terms of, look, there's consequences. Feel free to say what you'd like, express yourself, but you can do that without bringing up anything racial, or that has anything to do with sexual orientation. Go ahead, Kelsey.
Absolutely. No, I just feel as though I don't believe in being censored. I don't believe in any of that. I feel like you can absolutely say what you want. When we're talking about online, we have to remember that it's forever. The internet is forever. What'd you say?
Even if they delete it, it's still forever.
Yes. So you can sit here and write whatever you want, but knowing that it's forever, knowing that employers do search you, knowing that, just say you became famous one day. People are going to look into your background. They're going to dig you up. There are websites and people who do these things. So make sure that whatever you're putting out there is nothing that you'd be embarrassed about if, your mother read it, or your grandmother read it, or your child read it 20 years from now,
Ooh, that part right there, that last one, your child 20 years from now. I don't think people consider, especially with some of those pictures, but
hello.
Let's bring Leanna into the convo. Lee, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. And what an interesting conversation this morning.
Yeah. You haven't done anything that's going to surface, have you?
I have not. I actually have to admit, I stopped posting my opinion on social media years ago. And I only feel as if opinions are, I don't know, people are not really allowed to have opinions these days with the way people attack you for thinking differently. So I choose to keep mine to myself.
Yeah, it's definitely a thin line. I think you're almost taking a risk when you share an opinion. I mean, every morning Michaela and I do this. We're taking a risk because at the end of the day, and the risk is this, folks. The risk is very simple. When you share an opinion, you can say, man, it's a beautiful day outside. Someone will be offended.
And I don't know when we became a human race of sensitivity, but
listen,
goodness.
And I mean, I think some of it can be justified. I think for years, again, John Gruden, people have been getting away with saying anything, right? And without consequence. And I think people are a bit more cautious now. But again, I think we are a bit sensitive in some respects. You can legit just walk down the street and say good morning to someone. It happened to me in New York, and be like, "What'd you say?" Like ready to fight because they're just, in defense mode, right?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting time we're living in. So I definitely hear your point about opinions, and we definitely like putting you on the spot to see if you're going to budge sometimes, Leanna.
Neutral.
Real quickly before you get into the news break, for today's question, how far back should we go to condemn people? Do you think? Like, is there a statute of limitations?
See, I was listening to the conversation and a lot of great points were made. I do agree with Michaela and a lot of the points that she had made this morning. I don't know if there should be a time limit because I know it's something out there that says like every 7 years, the human cycle changes. And that also includes our mindset and how we view certain situations and whatnot. So I don't know if a time period per se should be put on it. However, if you look at a person's history as well, if they've been speaking like this for years and years, or whatnot, I think you could have a pretty well thought out understanding of how they feel about certain situations, right? But then to your point, Jamal, about including conscription, and you would be more receptive to people's opinions or the way they look at the situation these days. I feel like there's got to be a give and take, but it's got to be on an individual by individual basis. It can't just be this is the period.
Yeah. No, definitely, definitely. Well, Lee, let's get over to the news break. Yeah, we'll be back with Tamara Richardson, People's Pharmacy, immediately after this.
Thanks, Jamal and Michaela. Happy hump day to all of those who are tuned in with us today. I hope everyone is having a great start to their day. I'm Leanna Lambert, and it's time for the Daily Hour News Break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. So here's what's going on in today's top stories. Police are on the hunt for 2 male suspects following an aggravated burglary at a Smiths Parish residence in broad daylight yesterday afternoon. Now, emergency services were called to the incident shortly after noon, where the occupants reported that they were being held at knife point and a sexual assault is alleged to have taken place. Now, it is believed that the suspects made off with property from the home before fleeing the scene. The suspects are described as being Black males in their early 20s, wearing all Black clothing and riding a motorcycle. Acting Assistant Commissioner Nicholas Pedro declared this situation as a critical incident and asked for the public's help in bringing them to justice, saying people need to step forward and prevent this from happening again. 1 year and it's report card time. Well, this according to the opposition One Bermuda Alliance, who yesterday tweeted their so-called grading chart on the government's performance over the past 18 months. Now, this apparent marketing scheme notes a blatant F for the protection of seniors and the vulnerable, a few D's regarding the handling of the pandemic and transparency, while multiple C's were given for labor disputes, listening to the youth, and stimulating the economy. Now, meanwhile, the comment section, where teachers often provide their thoughts, clearly outline that improvements need to be made by government to place the island on a pathway to success, all signed by Cole Simons, JPMP. And you might recall Kaiwan Miners. Now, he's both a skilled equestrian who has represented Bermuda internationally and a very talented singer. Well, he's been back in the studio and is eager to release new music, which is dropping today. The Daily Hour caught up with the gifted artist to find out what he's been up to lately.
Hello and good morning, everybody. Today I get to share with you my good news. My EP, Elucidate, is being released today. It contains 5 singles that I'm very excited about. I was inspired to write this EP during COVID. I had so much on my mind, as I'm sure we all did, sitting at home, trying to figure out our lives. And I just decided to get in the studio, put my thoughts down on paper, and we came up with some really great music. 1 month from today, I'll be performing in Las Vegas at the South Point Hotel and Casino, where I'm very excited to be back out on stage. And I'm going to get the chance to perform a couple of these singles from this EP, along with my other singles that you have heard in the past. And from then on, I'm just going to keep grinding, keep hustling. And now that the world's slowly starting to get open again, I'm just excited to be performing live. This EP, along with all my other songs, can be purchased, downloaded, streamed on all music platforms. So Pandora, iTunes, Apple Music, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, etc.
And we're definitely looking forward to listening to Kaiwan's EP. Taking a look at today's weather, we have a high near 79 and a low near 71 degrees. Today will be another sunny day with comfortable humidity. Winds are northwesterly, light to moderate. Tonight it will be a partly cloudy. High pressure dominates for the moment with more dry and sunny weather and gradually easing winds into the weekend. Conditions are expected to turn rather unsettled. That's all for the Daily Hour News Break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. But before we leave you, here's a little helpful tip from your favorite community pharmacist. Drinking warm water regularly helps to break down fat deposits, enhances blood flow, improves oxygen circulation, rejuvenates the skin, and helps eliminate waste products from the digestive system more effectively. Now speak with your trusted People's Pharmacist about other easy and simple digestion aids. Now let's head back to Jamal and Michaela in the studio for today's Daily Focus.
You know, I just need some clarity on the warm water from the pharmacist. Is it room temp or is it warm as in boiled? I'm going to have to ask that question.
Boiled's hot.
Well, that's what
Boiled
I'm.
is hot. Yeah.
Okay, so it's room temp.
It's
No,
rude.
warm. Room
Warm,
temperature and warm are not the same.
I mean,
And
depending
boiled
on-
and warm are not the same either.
so it's in between.
Yes, you put water in a pot on a stove until it like gets warm and then you drink it in the morning. That's what I do.
What's the temperature on warm?
I don't know. It's just warm.
Okay, all right. Well,
It's
You
not
want to
hot.
get technical
You
this
can
morning,
easily
Michaela.
sip it.
I'm trying to understand because I don't do cold water. So I was like, I hope I'm on the right path. Real quickly though, on Kai One, I did purchase his album this morning. So I'm looking forward to listening to it. Always love hearing Bermudian voices doing their thing, and I would love to go to Vegas to watch him perform live. That's huge. But unfortunately, I don't do long flights like that anymore. So look, thanks for that, Lee. We've got Tamara coming up, and folks, don't go anywhere. It's a good conversation. People's Pharmacy, 37 years. Looking forward to learning more. Lee, we'll see you tomorrow.
Definitely. And happy anniversary, People's Pharmacy.
Yep,
There
yeah.
you go. People
See you guys later.
are younger than me. All right, cool. Yeah, talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.
All right, folks, do not go anywhere. We're coming right back with Tamara Richardson in his house.
Hi, I'm Karen, a nurse at the old folks home. These long hours used to kill my feet until my hairdresser told me about a great place to buy a pair of clogs. Medical House. Finally, relief. They also carry uniforms in bright, bold colors. And not to mention the support stockings.
Karen, Miss Soltis bet her bet again.
Oh gosh, these days, I need all the support I can get.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dendy Town Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke.
Calling all young people passionate about our environment. Registration for the island's first Youth Climate Summit is now open. This event, taking place in November, is open to students ages 13 to 22, allows students to hear from and directly speak with local and global experts, leaders and activists in the fields of environmental conservation, sustainability, and climate justice. Your ideas and contribution are vital to bringing meaningful change. To secure your space, visit ycsbda.com.
All right, welcome back to the big show. She's Michaela Ian. I'm Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House One Communications, Lindo's, and our friends at People's Pharmacy. Without further ado, let's jump right into the. Well, you know what? Before we bring Tamara on, let's play the movement moment, because I think it kind of this month she's focusing on a legacy and honoring and honor. So let's check this out for a quick minute, and then we'll bring Tamara into the conversation.
Welcome to this movement moment brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Together, we can illuminate your path to wellness.
Welcome to today's movement moment with Tamara Danal, brought to you by People's. Tamara, what are we discussing today?
Today, we will be discussing the second part of our horoscope for this month. So this month's horoscope is Honor, the Power of Legacy. The power of legacy in your life is invaluable, whether you realize it or not. It has untold benefits for you, but also for your loved ones. Now, legacy, as defined by Google, is a thing handed down by a predecessor. Did you realize that that thing that you hand down does not have to always be monetary or financial? The legacy you leave can be invaluable without costing you or your loved ones a thing. You can build a legacy that whether you're penniless or whether you're a millionaire. So let's discuss 5 ways that I have challenged myself to create a legacy for my children that has absolutely nothing to do with monetary possessions. Thank you for tuning in to this movement moment. To enjoy the benefits of the full episode, check us at Instagram at MVMT with Tamara Danal or at People's BDA.
I'm really looking forward to the rest of that, because many people think legacy and leaving children behind stuff, it's always got to be monetary or some material possession, and so that should be good, folks. And if you want to watch the rest of that, just go over to at People's BDA or MVMT with Tamara Danal. But without further ado, let's bring Tamara into the conversation. Good morning, Madame. How are you?
Good morning, Jamal. Hi, Michaela.
Hey, Tamara, how are you?
Audience. I'm good, thank you. Kudos to both of you for doing this every morning. My goodness.
Hey, look, and to be honest, hope she don't mind me sharing this. There's been times where getting her boys ready for school and she's rushed, and you would never know. Like, and it's I always commend her for her level of professionalism, because you would never know what kind of mood or things are happening personally when people get on. So yes, thank you for acknowledging that, because she is awesome at this. But thank you for getting up early to do this with us. It's a reason we have recorded Tamara versus live Tamara audience. But let's just jump right into it. It's People's Pharmacy is older than Michaela, right?
Yes.
Yes, I do know that. I remember exactly when Michaela was young.
I grew up in People's Pharmacy. For those of you who do not know, my dad, Craig Cannoneer, was the manager of People's Pharmacy when I was a child. So it's very much my family.
So I mean, look, it's been around for a time, and you're celebrating 37 years. So just speak to those who don't know, maybe who haven't read about the history. How did it all begin, the journey?
So the journey of People's Pharmacy began with my mother. It's really her story to tell, but for some reason she's pushed me to the forefront. And so it's my job to make sure her legacy is carried on. So my mom was a pharmacist at the time at one of our competitors. She recognized that primarily her Black customer base was, I would say, underserved. She got a lot of feedback from her customers about how good her service was. So just planted in the back of her mind was the fact that Bermuda needed a pharmacy for the people. So she took a year off work. She planned. She found the right location. She researched. She basically dotted her I's and crossed her T's. And in 1984, in 600 square feet, in the back of town, she opened People's Pharmacy. And today we stand at 10,000 square feet and truly a pharmacy for all people of Bermuda.
Absolutely. So how does it feel to be celebrating 37 years as a successful business? Because that is a long time.
That is a long time. And I will tell you, when you are actually in it and you are literally just day to day, I do the buying. My other buyer, Jamie, and I, we work months and months in advance. The years go so fast. I honestly didn't know where 37 years went. I started out 37 years ago as an 8-year-old standing on a box working a register. And so here I am today, just literally, we've just been putting one foot in front of the other for as long as I can remember. But it truly is gratifying to look back, to see how far we have come, to see the value that we bring to the community, particularly the Black community. But at this point, the value we bring as just a beacon of hope, as a solid family-owned and operated business in our community.
And how has the company grown and evolved over the years?
Well, we started out, like I said, in 600 square feet. So the original pharmacy, if you're familiar with the current layout of the pharmacy, didn't go too far past where the soda machines now sit. And that would have included an office, a little stock room, the dispensary. So we were only able to stock the medical needs and then a few other ancillary products. Today, we are toy, baby, gift, natural, fitness, whatever you need, you can pretty much find in People's. My goal is to not have to go anywhere else in Bermuda. So I have a little bit more work to do with, the fresh milk and the gluten-free bread. Once we get there, I'll be a happy shopper.
So what do you think keeps your customers coming back for years and years? Because, I mean, starting this in 1984, that means you've probably got generations of customers at this point, because I know it's generations of family.
We do. My mom, she makes me laugh whenever we're driving. She's like, oh, that's so-and-so. I did prescriptions for their mother. Or, she relates to people based on when she used to fill their scripts. But it's amazing to see the growth we've had. It's quite an experience to be a part of the People's legacy.
Absolutely. And then let's talk a little bit about the expansions over the past 37 years, because I remember this was probably 97. So I used to work at People's Pharmacy on like my breaks a long time ago. And there was like a pop-up Christmas shop, like above the offices. Yes. And then there was like Christmas trees for sale and all these other things. So obviously that was, God, 24 years ago at this point, and it's changed a lot since then. So talk to us about the expansions.
Over the years, yeah, we've just expanded based on customer needs. Perhaps our best addition was over the years, my mother and my grandfather. So my grandfather was integral to starting the pharmacy with my mom. He was her right-hand man. They made some very wise business moves in terms of acquiring the properties next to the pharmacy and around the pharmacy, which created our parking lot. Adding our parking lot brought the traffic to the area, which just snowballed into us adding what people wanted. So the toys was probably the first addition. The trees, I think that was your dad's idea.
Yes.
And it just grew from there, honestly. And now we're at the point where I feel like it's almost too much. And so we have to do the job now of figuring out exactly what it is that Bermuda needs from us so we can show up better in those areas. But yeah, we've expanded from, like I said, 600 square feet to 10,000 square feet. At one point, you could only go so far. Now you can go from Victoria Street to Church Street. You can walk straight through. We've added our beauty section, which before natural hair was even a thing, we recognized how invaluable those products would be. Natural and organic products, before that was even a thing, we recognized how important that would be to people's health over and above just prescription medication. And now housewares and home decor and literally just whatever people need to improve their lives in whatever area they deem important. Shopping is important to a lot of people, more so than we realize.
No, it is. It absolutely is, because like I'll pop in and I'll be like, okay, because you guys have certain products that I can only get at People's Pharmacy, and it makes me happy because I'm supporting a Black business, right? So I'll get my hair products and then I'll go, ooh, let me see what kind of notebooks they have, because I journal a lot. So I grab a nice leather-bound notebook and then I'll go, oh, what about this? And then Javi, oh, I need new toys. So it's like, it really is like a one-stop shop for whatever I need that day. So do you think that being a family business has made it easier or harder?
That's such a trick question. I think like with most things in life, sometimes it can be a gift and sometimes it can be a curse. I mean, I don't know how everyone else feels. Imagine working with your mother and when my grandfather was alive every day of the week, and at that time living with my mother. But my mother and I, if we can just focus on the two of us, we are very different in a way that it complements each other when it comes to running the business. I'm not the most patient. She's extremely patient, at least when she's in front of you. I'm much more of a, get in and do it. My mother's much more of a, let's think about it, let's plan it out. So we balance each other off. However, it can lead to some heated exchanges, which might not come across as the most professional in front of people, but, we're mother and daughter. There's not much I can do about it. Yeah,
absolutely. So what's next for People's Pharmacy?
That is a good question. COVID honestly has made it extremely difficult to answer that question. But I think what's next for People's is what has always been for People's. Our main goal, our value is to provide extremely good customer service to our customers. That includes our staff treating each other exceptionally well. And then that carries over to how they treat the customers. So being able to provide exceptional customer service an exceptional selection of products in an exceptional environment. I enjoy the shopping experience. When I travel abroad, I enjoy the experience in places that are well laid out, product selection is well thought out. And so our goal is to just do those three things better at People's Pharmacy. Obviously, technologically, we have to advance, like we've been told, as retail in Bermuda. So we're definitely going to be working very hard on improving our technical abilities. And like I said, just paring down so that we do what we do best. And, I'm happy to let others do what perhaps we don't do as well.
Got a question from the audience, and I'll say, follow at People's BDA and Movement, Terry, and I think some of the answers for this will be in there. But Terry K is saying, can you speak to the importance of creating generational wealth as a business owner? Hearing the people's story is inspiring. Congrats to you and your family.
So I am second generation, third if you consider that my grandfather started with my mother. Creating generational wealth first requires financial literacy. So my only goal right now is for both my children who, relatively speaking, have had a very good life. My only goal for them is for them to understand the value of a dollar. So if you want to create generational wealth, you have to make sure that the generations that come after you know how to maintain that wealth, because it's one thing to leave your children the world. It's another thing for them to know how to keep it. My mother, I did not want for anything, but I certainly have been paying rent from a very young age. I certainly knew what bills looked like from a very young age. I won't say that I struggled, but I will tell you that no matter what I earned, whether it was $100, $500, or $1,000, I had to give that woman money to pay my way. And that taught me a very important lesson. So don't just focus on what you're going to pass on. Also focus on how they are going to keep it, grow it, and then in turn pass it on. And then we begin to create lasting, sustainable generational wealth.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you think that you being such a key part in the business has helped you appreciate it more than, say, if you had been, inherited the business?
Yeah, I do think so. And honestly, I have been working in it since I was 8. I used to take school breaks just to do the buying trips. Like all my vacations were work vacations. So when I was in it, for me, it was just a job. It wasn't until I had children and people began to speak to me about the business itself. So working in the business and working on your business are two very different things. So at that point, I began to understand the legacy that is People's Pharmacy. I began to understand the importance of People's Pharmacy to this community. And so it morphed from being a job to me to being a passion. Like it's my purpose.
Right.
As a chairman, it's my purpose to ensure that People's Pharmacy remains a beacon in our community, especially our Black community in Bermuda.
I love it.
A lot in the audience. Let's go to the audience. I want to put you on the spot a bit later, and I think you know how to handle yourself, but I'm going to put you on the spot. Nikki Michelle says, I'd love to see people's take their brand and customer experience worldwide. And that said, I know there's in the US, you have CVS and Walgreens. Every corner you see a Walgreens, you see a CVS on those, right? Is there any opportunity for People's to expand in that manner?
There is definitely opportunity, and I would love for People's Legacy to be this beacon in the community across the Caribbean. So we'll just put it that way. But I'm only one person. Thankfully, my children are grown now. I'm also I'll say I'm a single woman. I wouldn't say I'm a single mother. I have a lot of help. So I did have to get to a certain point in life where I was able to do more. I already do a little bit more than the average person. But my dream would definitely be to see People's across the Caribbean.
I love to see it. And you see it from other companies, Colonial, Gibbons. I would love to see the People's brand in various islands. So, and forgive me, but look, it's been 37 years. You've been on the show, talked about the threat of Amazon. On this show, I've mentioned it numerous times that I think People's as a business does a great service to the community, and not in the aspect of saying, oh, at every charitable event you see People's name. I mean, when I go in there, and I'm comparing it to my situation in the US, is you can go in any CVS and Walgreens, right? The person on the shelf is the person behind the cash register, right? One person on the floor. If they need help, they call a manager from the back. That said, how have you managed recessions, a pandemic, to not go to the root of, I guess, technology? And when I say technology, not just ordering online, but keeping people employed instead of what they call it, self-help checkout and stuff like that. What is that a challenging part for the business for you?
It's extremely challenging, and it's made more challenging every year by some of the decisions that are made. But I will say, I mean, we are of this community, and so I care about my community. I care that my staff who enter our doors leave better people, whether you stay with us or not. I care that your resume actually means something when you leave People's. Like, it's not just words. You didn't just have a title. You actually can function better than when you arrived. Now, that being said, that has come at a tremendous cost to the business. You essentially take somebody, you train them, you pour into them, you invest in them. That has a cost. And it's unfortunately, as the way the world is going, is not as sustainable as it once was. It's extremely difficult, like everyone recognizes, when you compare prices, to compete with the Amazons of this world, who don't offer the best benefits, who don't offer the best breaks, literally pay you a pittance and, get 24 hours of work out of you. It's extremely difficult to compete with that when you're, for example, a capitalist with a conscience, and you actually understand that your staff, have a life and have to thrive, not just survive. That's been possible to do and compete up to a certain point, but the more decisions are made locally that impact our ability to continue to do that, the more we will have to evolve to keep up. A business exists to make a profit. We simply can't just continue to absorb all these losses.
Yeah. And I only asked that question because I mean, when I went into People's, I had to get my mom something from there when I was in Bermuda in the summer. And Michaela, like, I know you probably have gone into numerous stores out here, and I've said it on this show on a number of occasions. I'll go into Target right down the street from me. There's 22 cash registers, right? There's one open if we're lucky. Everything's self-checkout. And when I went into People's, and this is, again, folks, it's a question I'm asking because I'm like, are Bermudian companies doing a service to the community by keeping people employed? And the answer is yes.
I think we are, I think we are, but I think we also have a duty to encourage people to get retrained, to be more diverse in their thinking. You can't think that 5 years from now, I'm going to be comfortably doing the same job I'm doing today. That's just not the way the world is going. Now it's less important to be intelligent, more important to be adaptable, right? You must be open to learning a new skill. You must be open to recognizing when what you're doing is becoming extinct. So our goal obviously isn't to eliminate people, but to retrain and retool them, because in 10 years, a computer is going to do it or sooner.
Yeah,
that's a service right there, in ensuring that you're retraining your staff, and you mentioned investing in your staff. Yeah,
it's a service that's made more and more difficult as decisions are made in Bermuda that make it more and more difficult for a business to do that for their staff. But yes,
I want to share this comment. We've got quite a few. I'll do my best to go through them. Kiara Sumner says, yes, I agree wholeheartedly. Generation wealth becomes generational with education and growth with each generation. Hadeline Stevenson, Swan Kills.
Thank you so much, Tammy, for having no steps inside of People's Pharmacy for us who have bad knees. Congratulations to you, and love shopping at People's Pharmacy too. No, it's great. Most shops are not handicap accessible. I'm not saying Hadeline is handicap, obviously, but most shops aren't. And The entire store is.
And two stroller widths accessible. Like, yeah.
You know how important that is? And I don't mean to laugh. And I get you, Michaela, because do you realize when I worked at Bermuda Tourism, there were people that would choose another destination because the one hotel they wanted in Bermuda wasn't, as they call it, say in the US, ADA accessible?
Bermuda's awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
Like, and that's why we had
really
earlier this year, DeVito O'Brien from the BTA one speaking about that a lot. But yeah, so that's something that simple makes a difference. In
Yes.
people,
yes. And it's like, you don't realize it until you have a baby and you have a big stroller. And then you're like, I'm sorry.
The amount of people that park on sidewalks blocking the ramps is appalling to me, but that's Bermuda.
One last question Sean Smith has. What separates People's Pharmacy from all the other pharmacies on the islands?
I would say customer service. I think other pharmacies are catching up and understanding that getting to know your customer, building that rapport, creating that one-on-one trust is important. But People's Pharmacy has done that since inception. Like, that's just my mother's way. That's my family's way. And that literally set us apart, along with some key decisions my mom made when she opened, which all now are regular occurrences. So when she opened, she was the only pharmacy open on a Sunday. So everyone from emergency would come to her, and then they would, get to know her and become her loyal customer. She was the only one with a computerized dispensary. All those things are now common. So, it doesn't stand out as much, but the customer service, that's what we're known for. That's what we've always done exceptionally well.
Yeah. One last question. What are you doing to celebrate the 37 years? Anything special this year? No?
So our 37th anniversary is actually on Halloween. It's always just retail, go. Nothing extremely special with COVID. It's really, really hard to plan or predict. So just continuing to build on that legacy that my mom started 37 years ago.
All right. And before you go, I just want to, again, put you on the spot. I honestly want to thank People's Pharmacy and yourself for the support that you have given this show, Leanna especially, and creating a way to ensure that the audience benefits from the partnership with the pharmacy tips and so on. I think it's been really helpful. Those of you who maybe don't follow or like on Facebook, every Sunday you'll see the tips with Leanna from the previous week shared on there. And you can also go on at People's BDA to also follow there for more information. But we really appreciate the partnership, and thank you for believing in us and always being there to actually offer advice and assistance as to how we can do our job better in communicating with the audience that we have. So thank you for what you do, and we'll do our part to continue making sure that people know that People's Pharmacy is Bermuda's pharmacy to go to.
Thank you very much. And thank you both. And thank you, listening audience. I have made a rookie move. My battery is dying on my laptop.
Timing couldn't be better.
But thank you both. Honestly, such a service you're providing for the community. We need these types of intellectually stimulating conversations, even if they're at 8 a.m.
Thank you so much, Tamara. And we'll be in touch soon.
Okay. Thanks.
Alrighty.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
What's funny is I don't know if you guys heard it, but right before we brought on my battery, I forgot to plug it in as well. So it's interesting how we kind of made the same thing. If you appreciated that conversation with Tamara this morning, a very good conversation, honestly. I really, really liked that. And folks, that was Michaela you saw in People's Pharmacy many years ago. That was her.
I was there every day.
That was
every day.
I wanted to actually quote Mr. Cannon there, because I've quoted him on more than one occasion since he made this statement, I think last year, September. And it aligns with what Tamara said as far as community. The best service you can really, and I got the quote from him. I'm going to have to WhatsApp him and correct it probably tomorrow because I remember asking him. But it was something to this effect. The best charity is opportunities. He said something among those lines. And I love the opportunities created. And what Tamara said, they're not interested in letting people go, even though it's costing their business. They want to retrain people. We've got to adapt. We have a daily play coming up, but like I said, appreciated that conversation. Give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share these kind of conversations. This is a Black family business, 37 years.
It's huge.
It's possible. It's possible. 37 years from now, Michaela will still be teaching. But guess what? She's not going to be teaching you how to be on camera, what is right today. She's going to evolve and teach you what is right then. But this is what we're talking about. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back because we're going to trip up with today's Daily Play. It's a song that if any of you get wrong,
oh gosh,
it's trouble.
Same smooth sounds, different name. BCG Radio, home of Bermuda's most engaging morning talk shows, The Daily Hour and Good Day Bermuda. Download the app available for Android and Apple devices. BCG Radio, your station for conversations and entertainment.
All right. Thanks again to One Communications, Lindo's, Medical House, and People's Pharmacy and Tamara for coming on today, as well as their continued support of this show. It's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Heineken 0.0. Great taste, no alcohol. Michaela, are you ready?
Ready.
All right. It's a say it, don't sing it, folks. Very easy song. If you guess it before Michaela, you win a little something, something. Quote, we'll be together with a roof right over our heads.
We'll share the shelter of my single bed. We'll share the same room. I walked down the aisle to this song. Bob Marley. This is love. This is love. This is love.
Folks, she didn't give you a chance. I knew she got, but you know why I chose this, folks? The reason I chose it, I'm like, I'm going to get Michaela. Michaela keeps saying, I only know hooks. I'm like, you don't only know hooks. You know good music.
True. This is like my favorite Bob Marley song there. Like, favorite.
All right. So, and I had no idea that's what she walked to down the aisle, folks. But Kale's got it. She didn't give you a chance, folks. She did not give you a chance. Kale's, final thoughts on today's episode?
I thought this was a great conversation. Part A, let's be careful what we say online because it's always going to last. And you can say whatever you want, but consequences. I love the conversation with Tamara. I make no secret about the fact that I love People's Pharmacy. I am a loyal customer. And I just love what they've done over the years. Like I said, I practically grew up in that place. So I remember when it was this big and now it's just enormous. So congratulations to them on such an incredible milestone.
Indeed. Honestly, I can't thank People's enough. They were one of the first clients I had at a previous job. I spent a lot of time in there for breakfast and lunch, snacking and supporting them. And it's a company that has given us a chance, gotten behind what we've done. And, I always say sometimes what you give to the community can't be seen, but it can definitely be felt. So I appreciate what they do. And I echo Michaela's sentiments. What you put online can come back to haunt you. There's consequences. Not everyone's going to look at what you said or done in the same manner. Keep that in mind. Kale's daily inspiration for us?
Yes, this is from Buddha. What you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you create.
There you go, folks. There you go. Tomorrow we have Conno Smith stopping by, former Bermuda International, played for the New England Revolution and now coaching in Birmingham, Alabama. So it should be a good conversation speaking to him about his professional journey and to hopefully inspire others. Thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we would do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Michaela and I'm Jamel Hartman. My friends, please do make it a great day. Peace.